You don't need to live a life that is full of pain or regret or unhappiness.
Welcome to the Spirits Beside Us podcast. I'm your host, Chris Lippincott. I'm an ex-Wall Street analyst turned international medium, spiritual teacher, and best-selling author. Each week we'll dive into the fascinating and uplifting arena of the non-physical world to help you deepen your understanding and spiritual connection to the unseen realm. We'll also share a behind-the-scenes look with others who've done the same and speak with experts in the field about their experiences. Pull up a seat and let's dive into these perspective-changing conversations. Well, welcome everybody, and welcome to another episode of Spirits Beside Us. I'm so glad that you've joined us, and today we've got a wonderful guest, and her name is Jenna Pilates, and she is a celebrity trainer, an intuitive medium, and a spiritual advisor. She's also a wellness expert, a health expert, an author, just a long litany of just wonderful capabilities. And she's got so much experience. She's almost got a quarter, 100 years. So she's got 24 years of experience in, guiding individuals and really helping them gain their true potential. And she's, intuitive empath, and she's really been trying to help people, especially sensitive people, not only understand their gifts, but also work with it and expand, what they're doing. So Jenna, with that long introduction, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Chris. I'm so excited.
This is gonna be fun. I can tell. I mean, what would you say? You've been doing these 24 years because it seems like you're able to do so much. You're helping people with their energy, their healing. You're helping them understand what their own abilities are. Where do you find yourself gravitating the most these days? I mean, from everything from a medium to an advisor to a health and wellness expert. It's a tall task.
It is a tall task. Well, I feel most recently, as an entrepreneur, and I know that you understand this, your business goes through these pivots and these shifts. And so I believe that the universe and spirit really brought me into my healing abilities through the Pilates method. And over the years through there is how my gifts just expanded and grew and became more than I ever could have imagined, knew, understood. And with that came that evolution of where clients always thought they were coming to me for one thing and it turned out to be something else. So over the years now that people understand who I am, what I can do, it really is about most recently people coming to me for my intuitive mediumship, for my intuitive healing sessions, to help guide people on their journey, to help guide people out of dis-ease, be that emotionally, physically, psychologically, whatever that may be, has always really been that underlying surface. People would show up for a Pilates session and leave, therapy 101, intuitive medium session, and healing. And so it's sort of this one-stop shop. And how I really came to pivot and develop with it is that over the years, when I was growing up and I was learning about all this, there wasn't really a book. There wasn't a person that said, hey, by the way, you're an empath and here's what you should do. There was none of that. I would see this person for a reading or that person for a Reiki or this person for a star, all these people. And so I really learned a lot, developed a lot of skills, and have been guided to be able to do this one-stop shop. Come here, and that's where the mentorship, spiritual mentorship, has come into as well, to help people understand, why are you here? Who are you? What is your mission? And are you playing out the theme of your life for this year? Because every year has a theme. And if you're playing next year's theme this year, well, that's going to be a problem. So we need to nip that in the bud pretty quickly.
Are these themes anything to do with like Chinese New Year, and every year is like the year of the rat or something, or what are these different themes?
Oh no, I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that. I was waiting. I was like, oh my God, we're going there right now. Wow.
No.
How fitting. But, in knowing, every culture has something that goes on in China and their Chinese New Year and so on and so forth, which it's important to know all of these things. It's more when I look at it, I really look at the numerology. I bring in your numerology. I bring in your astrology, your birth chart. I bring in who you are and where you're at today. And then we get to what is your life path number? What is your mission? What personal year are you in? And so there's the schedule of 9 or a cycle of 9 personal years, and each one has a different theme. And so if you are trying to start a business and you're trying to do all these things, but you're in your personal year 9, well, that's a crapshoot and that's not going to happen. And so if you're going against the grain, you're not serving a purpose. So I help people understand where they are, who they are, what is the mission, what does that mean, and what resonates with you on that. And then how can we set you up for success this year and knowing the years that are to come to prepare for each year? Just like someone would prepare, say, for a Mercury retrograde, which we're exiting, but we're still in the shadow of it, which means there's still communication issues. There's still technical issues.
Still being affected by it. Absolutely.
So many around the world. There's a lot of technical issues right now. There's a lot of, it's a big time to review, revise, rethink. It's also a big time for things to come out of the shadow and be exposed. No pun intended there either. So, and this really goes into January 2nd, January 5th, and then we go into a whole nother ball game of fun. So it's really just knowing about your life and you. And I would say you spend so much time learning or so much time on what is the weather going to be. You probably spend more time planning a trip than you do understanding who you are and why you're here.
So is that, it kind of sounds like there are good years to do certain things and not so good years to do things, like you mentioned, starting a business or doing some kind of adventure. So it sounds based on this 9-year cycle, there are actually good years to do that and bad years to do that?
I wouldn't use the word bad. I would say there are good years to do things and better years to do things, right? There are some years that is full of new beginnings, and that's you should be doing all of these things and experiencing life. And there are other times where there's endings and you're supposed to be checking in on your health, and maybe you're moving, and maybe you're reassessing your relationships. If you're trying to build a business during that phase, you're going to be off kilter. There isn't going to be that body, mind, spirit alignment. So you're going to feel like you're hitting walls. The universe is just trying to get your attention. And so that's when it just comes back to knowing who you are, why you're here. What year is it for you? What's really going on? Because the world is going to tell you one thing, and that's all well and good. But really, what's going on inside of you is what matters most.
Interesting. Does that have anything to do, or is it somewhat akin to, let's say, angel numbers or like tarot numbers? I think there's certain tarots that are based on your personality, and is it kind of a similar concept there? It's
very similar. Like if you brought out an oracle deck and you looked at it, I mean, angel numbers, numerology, yes, it all means something. Your birthday means something. The year that you were born means something. Your birth month means something. It all means something, and it means something special to you, just like the imprint of your birth chart is important and is solely for you. You can look at that birth chart and understand something called astrocartography, which will help guide you to where are the best places for you to live and where are the best places for you not to live. Now, I am not an astrologer. However, I have experienced astrocartography firsthand so much that it's like second nature for me to go, yeah, that's probably not where you want to be for X, Y, and Z. Or, oh, you're having these issues? Well, this could be why. Now, with that said, it doesn't mean everyone necessarily needs to up and move, because truly what a lot of people don't tell you is that astrocartography is really only 25% of whatever, let's say, issue you may be having. Because then we have feng shui in play. We have your mindset in play. We have your energy in play. So there's a lot of things. It's not necessarily always about up and moving. Sometimes, I'll be honest, it is. And I've had those times where it was time to move, and that was what needed to happen. So there's just so many cool things to help you with your life, to align you better, to allow you to understand what it feels to be in flow versus the stop, go. It doesn't need to be that way.
Right. What about, I mean, you were talking about, there's certain, the astrocartography or photography, or I can't even pronounce the word, is only 25% or some portion of the entire picture. Would you say a large part of the picture is also, and you mentioned mindset, could that be the power of thought, since spirit's always coming through and saying, you have the power of thought. You just don't even realize how powerful your thoughts truly are. It's like the old saying, thoughts become things. All that we are is a result of what we have thought. It's like a large part of it?
I would say absolutely, because you can be in a place and you may think this is the best place in the world, but yet nothing's aligning for you. So something's off. So if you feel good, do you feel good because it has the restaurants that you like and the stores that you like and you bought the good sheets on the bed? Or energetically, do you feel good? And you don't need the external. Is it the external that's making you feel good, or is it the internal that's making you feel good? And those are always the spots that you want to go to. Now, with that being said, as an example, I lived on my Pluto line, my Pluto astrology line, for almost 4 years. Now, no good human being, let alone astrologer, will tell you to move to your Pluto line. The only time you're moving to your damn Pluto line is if you are looking for the most wild, adventurous transformation that you're just like, I've got on my war gear and I'm going for it. Other than that, I mean, I don't recommend it. However, that is a place where I think of like moments like a phoenix rising. I had so much taken away from me, but I had my podcast born in one area. In another area, I literally had my entire business dried up to the point that like I had pennies because the universe was trying to guide me to where I needed to be. But I felt so stuck and depressed in the energies of the area that I couldn't find the clarity because I wasn't supposed to be there.
It's kind of like, when God closes a door, he opens a window somewhere else, that kind of idea.
Right. But if you don't see it,
you got to see that the door is opening.
You've got to see it. And sometimes it takes a minute. It takes a minute. And that's what I want people to know. Like this is Earth school. Every moment is a lesson and is a blessing, and it's all about how you perceive it and you walk through it, not avoid it. And so, yeah, I mean, were those 3.5 years, I mean, I was challenged to the core. There were, more than mental breakdowns. It was definitely incredibly challenging for me. However, on the other side of that, has this gotten me to a place where I finally just feel this feels good. Now, on the flip side of that, have I been told enjoy the time while you're there because we don't know how long you're going to be there? And I'm like, man, but that's the universe, right? Like that's the adventure. And I can either fight it and be like, well, what do you mean I'm not going to stay here? What do you mean? Or I can truly live every moment and be so grateful for where I'm at and what it took to get here. Because I know, and my famous words are, it's this or something better, God. And right now, where he brought me, this was nothing of what I asked for and everything of what I needed, down to my very own beach that I actually didn't even realize, Chris, till like 2 days ago. I didn't realize it. I was down walking on the beach. I'm 2 blocks up. And I've been going to this beach like every day for the months that I've been here. And I stood there and I went, oh, I love my beach. And I felt this tap on my shoulder. Your beach. It's my private deeded beach. Now, I don't own it, but like for the time that I'm here, it is my private deeded beach. And I thought, oh my Lord, look at what you have done, God. You have outdone yourself again. Right? So again, it's all in perspective of what's going on. Now, the place that I live, it's absolutely adorable and cute, but I love a lot of sunlight. I need sunlight. Right. It does not have a lot of sunlight in it. Well, guess where God wants me? Not in here. The universe
Wants you on
wants
the
me
beach.
outside, on the beach,
on the beach,
outside walking. Yes. I'm not. So again, I can sit here and complain about, well, there's not that much light in here and this sucks. Or do what I did, which was shift my work to when the sun goes down and I play all day, right? Like I play for most of the day. It's a short period of time right now.
Or what you could do is, you can move your studio and your office out onto the beach, and that would be a true outdoor experience.
It truly would be an outdoor experience. And in the summertime, that is awesome. That would be amazing. If we're still here, I'll be super excited for that. Yeah. Right now, it's a little on the chilly side.
Yeah, and you probably not get much work done anyway. You're like, oh, all right, this is so comfortable.
No, when I'm out there, right? Like that's my message time. That's my meditation time. That's I'm just with the universe and getting my insights and,
all right.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, how did you get here from there? I mean, what was it? Was there some kind of catalyst in your life that kind of got you to this place of not only understanding, but also spiritual healing, energy healing? Because that's essentially what you're doing. Is you're working with people who are coming in with, and perhaps they don't know what stage of life they're in or what number the year is, and you're healing people. So, how do you arrive? What was it that kind of got you to where you are now? And was there, how'd you start? Did you just?
So it really was the pivotal moment was a car accident in 1997, which was a traumatic car accident that I was in. And at that point in time, I was living by my ego. I didn't know any better. I was trying to climb the corporate ladder, trying to make a certain amount of money, trying to live in a certain place with a certain car, get married at X, Y, and Z, have 2.5 children, like just what I was literally programmed to know. That's what I was doing. And I was very unhappy. I was in the senior living industry. I had started when I was 15. I had an incredible mentor over the years. And in looking back, the parts that I love is I love to work with residents and their families. I love to be an advocate. I specialized in Alzheimer's for a long time. And that is truly what is most important to me. I'm very good at sales and marketing, very good in entrepreneurship. However, when it came to growing in a corporate world, I was getting pulled further and further and further away from what was aligned with my heart and my passion, which was residents and their families. So I became very non-compliant is the best way to say it. I do not play well. I do not play well with others. And so if there was a short staff in the kitchen, I would be in the kitchen. Meanwhile, there would be someone calling from higher above wanting numbers of X, Y, and Z. And I'd be like, I'll get back to you.
I got to finish my short stack of pancakes.
Right. And so I was not playing well with others and I was really struggling. And I think the universe was like, oh my God, this poor child, what are we going to do with her? Let's put her in a car accident. And so, yes. So it was a traumatic car accident one day. The blessing is that it transpired in Boulder, Colorado, which at the time was the mecca of the holistic health and wellness industry. And being a little country bumpkin from Cape Cod, I would say, I had no idea half of what I was being told, half of what was being done to me. I was just going with it. I had a lot of soft tissue damage from the base of my skull down my spine, neurological, you name it. It was not well. It wasn't good. I was in and out of doctor's offices 8 hours a day. It was a challenging time. I should have taken it a lot more serious than I did at the time. I was out of it. I didn't know. Nobody really stressed the severity of it.
or was that the Colorado recreational industry helping you along?
So that's funny you should bring that up. So I will say this. This was very interesting. So all the doctors, very holistic. And, a couple of things that stood out. One was that at one point a doctor said to me, you've never lived in your body. And that was a very pivotal statement. Now, I didn't understand it then. I truly understand it now. Because of how I had grown up, it was a very traumatic setting or traumatic. I don't know how I'm going to say that. It was tumultuous. Everybody, it was a crapshoot. And I was an empath. And so I was tuning out. I was numbing out. And I didn't understand what he said then, but years later, it made so much more sense as I put the pieces of my life together. So that was one aspect. The other aspect, getting back to you, is that I had doctors who said, well, you could take all these medications that they want you to take, or you could partake in, healthy, natural marijuana, but we prefer you, in quotations, we prefer you to smoke it out of a bong because we know that you have a history of asthma. This will be much better for you and actually can help your asthma. And I was like, what? I'll never
my son should hear that.
I'll never forget that I had called my family and I was like, this is what they said. And my family was like, what? What? So anywho, I went through a lot of rehab and I went through a lot of stuff, and I always loved to bake. I was known for my brownies.
Okay, they're saying, yeah, you should have special brownies too. That'll really help your
I was
body.
very well known for that, with their very special butter or oil, whatever that I was given to put in them, made them delish. So that's
secret ingredient.
It was a secret ingredient in Boulder. So I did that. But truly, that's when I found the Pilates method. I met an incredible instructor who was well-versed in rehabilitation Pilates. And so it was through her that I found the Pilates method, which helped me to understand body, mind, spirit alignment, which helped me to truly, for the first time in my life, actually get into my body. So as I had someone telling me I never lived in my body, I now had someone getting me into my body, even though I had no idea what any of this was about. And that is really what opened up and aligned all of my gifts to sort of truly just come on, right? Everything just came on. It's not that they weren't there, but I didn't really know. All of a sudden, even now, I knew that people would come in pain and they would leave that day and they weren't in pain anymore. And all of these cool things were going on and I just knew things. But my whole life, I've just known things. It's just that nobody ever listened to me. Where now people see the value and they understand she knows things.
Mm-hmm.
We should listen to her.
Yeah. So she's got the brownies. I'm going to listen to her.
She's got the brownies. So it's been this evolution over years for me. I know a lot of people have this one story where everything just changed. And that moment was very pivotal for me in coming online, so to speak, truly online with all of my gifts.
So you mentioned a couple times the Pilates method. Is that anything because immediately I think of the Pilates and the exercise I hear all the time. Is that the same thing? What is the Pilates method?
So the Pilates method is a method of exercise, is what we would call it in this day and age, from a gentleman by the name of Joseph Pilates, who invented it. And so I rehabbed with that for 1 year during, right after my car accident. And at that point in time, back in the day, you got a little bit of a car settlement, not much. And no coincidence, it was the exact amount of money needed to go to the Pilates Center there in Boulder, Colorado, which is the Harvard of all Pilates schools. So the universe already had a plan. I had no idea. I was just along for the ride. And everyone around me said, you should do this. You're good at it, yada, yada. And I leaned into it, and I did. And I went to the school for a year, and it was an amazing experience. And I went in with the mission of, if I could just help one person not be in pain, not feel anything that I felt, which was a lot of pain, a lot of turmoil. And, you fast forward 24 years later, I've helped thousands of people around the world, not only to get out of pain, but to align with themselves and to help them on their spiritual path, to help them connect with, maybe it was a loved one that needed to come through, to help them release the blockages of energy in their body so that they could feel good again. So it's taking all of my gifts and bringing them together. And with that evolution came that evolution of now where clients maybe don't come to me so much for Pilates right away, which is how they used to come for me and then ask for the other services. Now it's the reverse. They come to me for the spiritual advising. They come to me for the spiritual mentoring, for the healing aspect. And then it's I see that you do somatic Pilates healing. What is that? And that's something that I was guided to transition into the last couple of years. So everything is an evolution, and just evolving with the times.
Yeah, that's why I've always said it's everything is always an evolution, not a revolution. It's exactly the same thing when we transition into spirit. We literally evolve into the spirit form from the physical form. That's why so many people who write back their experiences in as they're transitioning, they say, I didn't even know I transitioned, didn't even feel it. It was a blink of an eye. It's like, nothing's changed. I was like, I'm exactly the same person. Right. So that's the evolution. It's like, we don't even know we've changed. And so it's like, even now, as we grow, as we quote unquote evolve, that's the evolution. It's not like it'd be like a step change. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful and it's amazing. And I would say this is one of the harder, more challenging evolutions in my mind. And it's only recently that I realized, I'm like, well, it's already happened, but my mindset hasn't caught up with it yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there's so much changing collectively. There's so much that I'm releasing of whom I once was, that I'm not whom I used to be. I see who I'm becoming, but those are big shoes. And so that's why I understand when people are where they are. And I always say, I meet you where you are because I've been there. Like, I see what I'm stepping into and I'm like, ooh, like, I know that's something you've always wanted, but are you ready for that shit? Like, that's a big deal. But that's where I'm stepping into. And so sometimes what we think is the biggest deal, we're already there, right? But we don't even realize it because we still feel like we're not whom we were, but we don't feel like that person yet, but we're still here.
Yeah.
And it's like, all you have to do is just inch over a little more and there you are, right? Because you are where you are. There you are.
We were just talking a second ago about evolution, and you were talking about you're meeting people kind of where they are, and you know that they've got something and they're about to step into big shoes, and they're evolving, they're growing. So how do you help people find not only that understanding of where they're going, since they're about to step into these big shoes, but also how do you help people find their abilities, their strength, their capabilities that's inside of them, since they're kind of like you were saying, their mind hasn't caught up with the reality of what they're actually about to experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's when it comes into being someone's guide and being their beacon of light. Sometimes all I have to do is just shine that light and they're like, oh, there it is. Sometimes it really is. I always find it's just this little bit, generally a little bit of a tweak of a mindset. Whereas they may say a sentence one way and then I repeat it back and I a different way. And they're like, oh, that light bulb moment. Now, for some people that may take a few sessions, and for some people that's one. I've had many clients go, oh my God, one session with you is like 10 years worth of therapy. Thank you. Like, this was amazing.
And a lot cheaper.
Right. Ultimately, your investment is not nearly as much as it was if you had just spent 10 years laying on the couch. Nothing wrong with traditional therapy, by the way. It has a time and a place, 100%. I 100% agree with it. I've done it. But I always say, whether it's a mentor, whether it is an intuitive advisor, whether it is a therapist, I want you to find somebody that resonates with you, who has walked in the path of which you are walking. I spent a lot of time with people, regular traditional therapists, as well as intuitives and psychics and healers and blah, 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 who were on very different paths from me. So I couldn't always quite get to where I needed to get because they weren't getting me necessarily. So you really want to find someone that resonates with you, that aligns with you, and truly who meets you where you are, who's been there.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like you can. I'm just saying, like a therapist, most people are just like talking to the therapist who's jotting down the notes and being the receptor, if you will, the bounce, what is it? The bounce back, the bounce board, allowing just the person to speak. But there's really no true give and take from what I would think, as opposed to, somebody like you who would be able to say, okay, I'm walking your shoes. I know where you are. Let's talk about it. And we'll have the back and forth because we both understand each other.
Right. And I would say it's always people go, well, what is your superpower? I love that question. I'm like, I am the superpower.
Yeah.
I am the no bullshit meter. Like, you can come in and you can tell me anything you want. And at the end of the day, I've already known the answer. I'm just letting you go on and on and on. It is the bullshit meter is here. Like, drop it at the door because you're going to come in and I am that beacon of light who's going to see it all. And a lot of people don't like that, and that's okay. But then there are those people who are on their path who are like, I know I'm so close, or what am I missing? and they're ready for it. Not everybody's ready for it. And that's why I say it's also very important to meet people where they're at.
Do you see a lot of people who come in, maybe they are sensitives, maybe they are psychics, maybe they are mediums, or they're just learning that they are, and they're experiencing this, and they're like, oh my God, what is this? I'm flipping out. Yeah, how do I deal with this? Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they've got emotions that they don't even know what to deal with. Maybe they are an empath, so they don't know how to block off all that energy that they're absorbing like a sponge.
Right.
You see that a lot coming in?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I generally tend to attract people who are in those states, who are in the states of, I'm pretty sure I'm an empath. I'm pretty sure I'm a highly sensitive person. What does it mean and what do I do with it? How do I empower myself? And that's where people end up generally at my doorstep. And it is learning that empowerment because, you'll hear any empath or highly sensitive person say, I don't know if this is a curse or a blessing. 9 times out of 10, they always say that in the beginning. And I was there and I said that too. And it wasn't until I did all my research and I dove in and I understood what it meant to be what I am and why I am the way that I am and understand the incredible blessing I've been given with these gifts. It's not to say that everyone doesn't have similar capabilities because I do believe that every human being has the capabilities. It's up to them if they want to bring it online, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then there are those who are thrusted into it for whatever reason. Generally speaking, most empaths or highly sensitive people have had some sort of traumatic event that happened at a very young age. 9 times out of 10, it's how it happens. There are people that are born empaths and also have the event. And it's being okay with who you are. It's understanding that this is a superpower that you've been given, that this is a sense of protection that you've been given. The issue is that you just didn't know what you had. And I always say, you don't know what you don't know till you know. But once you know, now it's time to do better. Yeah. So if you know you're empath, then we know that we need to protect our boundaries. Boundaries are crucial for empaths and highly sensitive people. And in doing so, that means that all of us also, 9 out of 10, are people pleasers or recovering people pleasers. We need to not be a people pleaser. Setting healthy boundaries is going to be incredibly challenging. And so it's just starting out and gently guiding and mentoring and saying, it's just one step at a time. You're not going to change everything overnight. I've been there. I've worn the crystals upside everywhere, inside out, trying to do all the things. That's why I've said over the years, it was so hard because there was never any one person who really was able to guide me wholly, body, mind, and spirit. And that's what I've spent all my years truly putting together to be able to help people, because I don't want anyone to have to go through what I had to go through, trying to look under rocks and, in the cupboard and what do I do next and how do I do this? And no, I want you to know that you have the power within you. It's just learning how to work with it.
Yeah, because everybody, and this is what I've always been telling people, so everybody has these abilities, these non-physical abilities. They've just been lying dormant at the back of their hindbrain, or the brain stem connects to the spine, because that's what mankind has had since prehistory. It's only until the frontal lobe developed that we no longer use it, and it's gone dormant. But what I tell people is that, guess what? We do use it all the time. We use, for example, our instinct. That's our gut reaction. Guess what? That's clairsentience. That's clear what? Clairsentience. Happen other times, and all of a sudden you get this sensation. You walk up to somebody and you're like, ooh, there's something. The vibes are off. That's your clairsentience working. That's your non-physical senses. Or something tells you to do something and you ignore it. And guess what? You should have listened.
Right. Exactly. It's all those little things. And I think that in pointing those out, then it doesn't make things for people so scary, right? It doesn't make it when I look back and I say, there were different times where I was I don't want to say indoctrinated. That sounds terrible. When I was introduced to different things, or I was attracted to different things. For a long time, it was readings. It was through those readings that my grandmother, who had Alzheimer's, who was living, by the way, was coming through. And I went to a reading once, and this woman was telling me all about my grandmother and how much she loved me. And I lit up the room, and she came into the world or I came into the world at just the right time, blah, blah, blah. My parents had been divorced. We moved in with my grandmother. But I'm like, wait, she's alive. The only grandmother I know that's passed away, I thought this woman didn't like me, or I was told that this woman didn't care for me, which now also is not a true story. But neither here nor there. So I had this reading. I thought, well, that was kind of weird. And I go home. It was just when like the internet was coming on board. I feel like I'm 80 saying that. But there was an email. And in the email, the woman said, your grandmother is here and she will not leave until I make it very clear to you that this is your mother's mother, which is my mama, who was living with Alzheimer's with my mother states away. And so through that, it became this, I wanted to keep going to get readings because she was coming through to me. So in essence, she was holding my hand and guiding me through my very first steps into understanding and connecting with me intuitively while she was still here. So, everybody has some sort of moment or story and some, hindsight. I wish I had, done things differently during those moments, but, I did all I knew in those moments. But how powerful to know that I had someone who was both living and transitioning at the same time. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
She didn't look like it. And that's another misconception. People don't understand that people can begin transition long before you think that they're transitioning.
Yeah. Yeah. Number of times I'll give a reading. Obviously the majority of the time the person's already transitioned, but there'll be times where I'm connecting to somebody and I know they're communicating. I know they're trying to relay that information. So I'm giving the information and the person's like, wait a second, they're alive. I'm like, well, I know this is who it is. And I know that's what they're saying.
Right.
Are they, 100%? Are they, having some kind of mental issue, as in, they're either in an Alzheimer's state or something like that, and then they pause, and just like you said, it turns out, oh, they're not 100% here. Like, you see? So, and then of course there are some people who are physically here who are checked out anyway.
Right. Who are just checked out. They're just checked out. They're like, I'm not, they're like, I can't. And we're going to see that, right? I mean, let's talk about that. Yeah. Like we're going into a period of time now where it's another period of time. We've already had one of these, but people are going to be checking out. Like, call my deli number. I'm done. Like, I can't. I'm just going to go there. I'm guided to go. I'm not doing the drones. I'm not doing the sea urchins. I'm not doing the flu in my birds and in my cow. Like, I'm out. There are a lot of people that cannot handle this cuckoo-ness after the last whatever is going on in the world, right?
Yeah.
And if you can't laugh at this point in time, I just want to say I'm a little concerned for you and I would like to talk to you because you should be laughing at this. This is craziness. This is pure freaking craziness. Crazy.
The world has gotten so bizarre. I mean, it's like we're living in bizarro world. It's like a comedy.
Crazy. It's so, I don't know if you saw this thing, so I just have to tell you and I'm going to tell y'all. So before Chris and I went live, I was like, I had my sage burning and we were talking about all sorts of wildness. And I was like, oh boy, this is going to be wild for us. And I would like to say that we have contained ourselves quite well up until this moment. So buckle up because we're about to go there. So I saw this thing. And so a big word that him and I were talking about was China. Now, it had to do with our technology and things just weren't working correctly. And however, now that we're talking about what we're talking, I don't know, I'm guided to say this now. So when I just want to like have, as people would call in quotation, shits and giggles, I go over on what I will still call Twitter, because I'm not down with X. I'm going with Twitter. And you pop on there and I swear you get news on there 2 days before you're seeing it anywhere else. It's
funny how that happens.
Isn't that weird? Interesting. So I saw this cool picture video and it's this, I mean, it's a UFO that literally looks like it came out of the most coolest movie ever. And I'm like, wow, wonder where this was, right? And the China said, New Jersey, you have nothing on us. I swear. I swear, this is today. What is the date? December. What is the date? So people can go look for the December 19th.
December 19th.
I almost peed my pants. And I was like, this is everything.
Oh,
this
God.
is the best ever. Right? Because if you can't laugh right now, like I like there's just no helping you. Like you got to laugh at this.
Yeah, I mean something like that. It's like two governments vying for the absurd. We're more absurd than you are.
Theirs was way more cooler than the stuff I was seeing. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like saying, okay, well, hey, wow, we got a drone. It's got 4 propellers. I can get that at like, CBS. Yeah, I can get that at CBS. Okay, it's the size of an SUV, but this is so much. It's a little bit bigger. Sounds like this China thing has got like what comes out of like Star Wars.
It did. It's what it looked like. It had all these pretty colors and these pretty lights coming down, and I was like, wow, that is so.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's not their holiday festivities that are getting played with here?
I mean, if that's what they do for holidays, that's pretty cool, I guess.
I was going to say, well, I mean, maybe they're gearing up for like, Chinese New Year or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know, but I've never seen that in a Chinese New Year before. But that was like.
Now you have. Remember? You just said.
Now we're like.
Twitter puts it out 2 days before the actual thing.
Seriously, Twitter puts everything out. Like I had a friend that sent me something the other day and I started laughing. I'm like, girl, I saw that 2 days ago on Twitter. I'm like, where have you been? I'm like,
you're behind the times. Come on.
Oh, come on. Like you gotta like get with the times here. But Isn't it like, it's just so interesting in these times. And it just goes back to, and we're laughing at this. Well, because we are. That's all I can say is I am. But this is where my stance is. I am always aware of what the universe is guiding me to be aware of. I am just not investing in it. I'm well aware of the cuckoo-ness that's going on, but I'm not playing. I'm not being paid. I did not sign that contract. Not happening. So it's important to be aware, but it's also important to go, well, what resonates with you and what doesn't resonate with you? And if it's fear, what is fear? Fear is ego-based. False evidence appearing real, which there is a shit ton of that going on right now, people. Like, hello.
Oh, yeah. Hello.
But honestly, I think it's just really important to say that right now because knowing what's coming down the pipeline, I want you to really pay attention to, are you getting it from out here? Are you feeling it externally? Or is it really something inside that's going, well, this doesn't feel so good? And take a moment with it and get clear with it. And then see, can you find the neutrality in it? Excuse me. Is that the word? Neutral. Can you be neutral? Find the neutral point. Thank you. Find the neutral point. Because there's no need to feed into any frenzy. And if you are an amazing empath or highly sensitive individual, it is important to know who you are. It is important to know your power. And it's important to know what you're feeling versus what are you potentially processing or clearing out for the collective.
Yeah. And here's another angle to think about. All that we live in, that external reality that we think we see out there, that we're looking at somebody, it's actually the reality that we're creating in our mind. It's basically a projection of what our mind is creating. And in quantum physics goes into this. There is only the illusion of reality. Everything that we see is nothing but energy, and energy can be shaped and formed and created. And guess who creates that? Us, we, our mind.
Right.
So you can totally create your own reality. And that's where the concepts of manifestation come in, law of attraction come in, because you're literally working with energy. So if you're feeling like your external world isn't working, well, then guess what? You have total control over your external world, especially if you focus on the internal. As within, so without. I mean, this is, thousands of years of, discussion. It's so true.
Right.
It's never been truer.
It's so true. And amen to everything that you just said. It's very true. And just meet yourself where you're at. And I know that there's a lot of highly sensitive people and empaths that are in families who are, let's just say it, they're probably on a different timeline than you. It's challenging, but you can do it. Like you signed this contract, you can do it.
There's a reason you signed the contract. You came to learn. And that's the other thing, way to look at it. Maybe you're in that traffic jam. Maybe you just got like some driver who just cut you off. And you want to wave your arms at them and you want to swear at them. You're like, how dare you cut me off? Well, guess what? You're actually experiencing a micro lesson. What's the lesson? Maybe it's patience. Maybe you're here to learn patience and you just don't realize it. So if you're here to learn patience, and look at it as a lesson. Right. Don't look at it as a frustrating experience. It's all how you look at something.
Right.
That's
and
the reality.
I love that you just did that, because I feel like I heard someone say, well, how do I know what I'm here to learn?
Yeah.
That goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is your life path, your life mission, your personal year, your birth chart. It's all there.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is spend a little bit of, why would you not want to know more about yourself to allow your life to open up to all of the abundance and empowerment that you're here for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. And then the joke becomes, wait a second, I signed that contract? What was I thinking?
I always say, and I will like always and forever, I will say this. There was no doubt in my mind I was drunk as a skunk. Somebody gave me a ton of champagne and I was like, I'll do this.
Oh, this sounds great.
This sounds fabulous. And I have a mentor. Every mentor should have a mentor, and a coach, and a healer should have a healer. And, when I'm going through it, and I have the last few years, and I would say to my mentor, la, 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 and she would be like, you did not come in for unicorns, rainbows, and lollipops. And it's our joke. And I'm like, yes, I did. And so it's funny. I wonder, I can't get it. But so I have a huge life-size unicorn. And
is it alive?
There is no doubt she is alive. There is no doubt she talks. Okay. Like, I swear, if you stare at her, you can watch her little thing move. Mm-hmm. She's very, very powerful.
I think you stayed in Colorado too long.
Or was it the aliens when I was in Arizona?
or was it China?
Or was it China? Or maybe it was when I was in California.
or maybe the unicorn's made in China. It's actually spying on you.
No, she says no. That's a hard no.
Hard no. All right. Fair enough.
But yeah, no, I mean, we were, right? We've all signed something. This is the school of Earth. Like, what? I mean, I always say, every moment there is a lesson and there is a blessing. It is up to you. How do you want to live your life? Are you the victim? Or are you the victor?
Yeah, love that.
You know what? How are you going to do that? I'm not saying it's easy. It's taken many years of many practice to get to that point. But now I don't have bad days. I may have a challenging moment, and I allow myself to have a piss poor moment. But it's it's a moment. It's not hours. Yeah. It's not days. It's a moment. And the same thing when I'm happy. Like, you don't overdo it in any direction, because you still got to stay the course.
Yeah. One of the most important things that I ever learned, and has completely and radically changed my whole view on existence, is the whole concept of we are in control not only of our reality, but of our lives and our direction, just based on the way we think. So we can, say, okay, rather than, to your point, rather than being the victim of external circumstance, you can clearly say, well, this is the life that I want. And you keep on your focus and your feeling on that life that you want, and you visualize everything in your life that you want. So once you've got an emotionalized visualization that you're focusing on with burning desire, and you see yourself every day living that future, guess what happens? You start to create it, because you start to become it.
Right.
That's why you're no longer a victim.
No, dress for the life that you desire.
Bingo.
A perfect
dress for success.
Totally dress for success, right? I remember on a vision board I had, this was many, many years ago, I had a picture of a necklace at Tiffany's that I adored. And this was when I was living in Boston in the Back Bay, and I used to walk to and from my Pilates studio, which was through the Prudential, which was past Tiffany's every day. And so one day I walked in and I looked at the necklace and I bought it. And I brought it home. And it was in the pretty blue box, and I put it on my table, And I stared at it for 48 hours. And then I took the box and I took it back to Tiffany's. And I said, here you go. Because what I realized was it wasn't about the necklace. It was about the desire to be able to know that I could give myself something of, at that time, that was a big magnitude for me to give to myself. Yeah. That was the biggest that was such a huge self-love moment. It wasn't about the necklace. It was about doing something so, what I thought was wonderful for myself. And honestly, it could have been from anywhere, but it was the idea that it was from Tiffany's and that I did that for myself, not somebody else. I did it for me.
And that you could do it. And the fact that you had the ability, and the fact that you could say, I'm not limited. I don't live in a mindset of scarcity anymore. I have unlimited abundance.
Right. Absolutely. And it takes time and it takes practice. It is a muscle that is to be worked every day, just as your mind, just as your body should be worked every day.
Yeah, because I think what happens, especially in the consumer existence of U.S. citizens, is that we're in this mindset of, I don't have enough. I've got to keep up with the Joneses. I'm living in a scarcity mindset. I can't. We'll flip it around and start saying, yes, I can, and work in little baby steps. And the baby steps get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So let's say, I wish I could have that fill in the blank. I don't know what, a BMW or, $100,000 or whatever it is. Go to your point. Go to the BMW dealer and just stare at the BMW all day. Sit in it. Take it for a test drive. Do it all the time.
Absolutely.
And within 12 months, guess what? Something's going to happen that all of a sudden enables you to get that BMW, or maybe your bank account suddenly grows $100,000. I don't know.
I've done that with a car. Now that you say that, I totally forgot about that. I had a car on my manifesting board, and I remember the dealership calling me. This was when I was in Scottsdale. I really wanted this when Volkswagen Tiguan's first came out. Again, aging myself a bit.
Yep.
And it was beautiful. She was white. She had the tan inside, the wheels. Like, I knew everything. And you know what he said to me? Jennifer, you can't afford that.
Oh, don't say that.
No, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't. Guess who had the fully loaded version like a month later?
Ooh. Would you like put like modifications on it so it was barely street legal?
No, she was a beauty. But it was just, and again, it does go back to what is in front of your face. What is I believe in writing things down. I'm very old school. I want to check off a
100%.
list. And that
goes into your brain.
It goes into your brain. It goes into the universe. The universe does not, I don't believe in all the technology right now I'm in a temporary spot. So I do have a manifesting board on my computer, but I can tell you it does not resonate with me. Like when I'm pasting and slapping stuff on something, it does not have the same energy.
Yeah.
So that's why I do write things down, or, I'll write down guests that I want on my podcast, or what do I hope for? Not hope, but, things. And I think something that's important, and I reminded myself the other day of something. I've been dreaming of some sort of RV. It's been going on like 9 years now. I have researched them every which way to heaven and China and back. I have picked out ones that I like. I have driven them. I have been in them. I mean, you name it. And the other day I'm like, I am still yearning for this. The difference, and this was the difference, everybody. This was like such a moment, was that before it was more out of fear. I didn't want to get in a plane. I didn't want to not have my fur babies with me. So that's why I wanted this. Now, it's completely because, and I've always loved an adventure. Like, I just prefer to get in a car. I would rather drive 20 hours. If you tell me I have to drive an hour, I'm like, forget it. Forget it. 20 hours, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, no problem. Like, let's do this. But that's a girl who's been cross country way too many times. I think it's like 10 now with my fur babies. Yeah. And so, it's about the journey. Yeah. It's about what you see on the way there. It's about
the adventure.
It's the adventure of it. And that's what switched the energies the other day. I was like, and I even said it out loud. I was like, God, angels, guides, this is because I want to do this.
Yeah.
Not because I had already given in, because I actually am getting ready to do a trip out west. So I was like, it's not because I don't want to get on the airplane. You've seen me. Like I'm ready to go to TSA. Holy crap, Chris, guess what happened the other day?
Oh, what now?
I hope everyone's following the story. Okay, I'm playing this out for you in real time. It's all coming through. So the other day, I went to get one of those TSA things. People say get TSA so you don't have to take off your shoes and blah.
Like the
You pay $80 for God knows what. They want everything from you. So I'm like, fine. So I go. For an hour, the machine won't work. Now here's the kicker. I also need to re-up my passport, which is like going to expire in January. And I looked at her and I go, well, she's like, you're going to have to come back another day. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If I can't do this, that means I can't turn in my passport to get a new passport. And she goes, no, you can't. So I left and I said, okay, God, where are you taking me in a short period of time that may require my passport? And you're telling me that I don't need a TSA thing. Well, and then the drones came and the East Coast is a hot mess. So
you're not coming out here.
So no, at that point I was looking at Canada. I was like, I'm not an idiot. I'm like, I'm going to go up and over. I'm going to freaking go for a joyride. Hell yeah. But when you sit back and you look at those, like I wasn't pissed off about the TSA thing. I walked away and I went, wonder what this is about. But
let me do it differently.
Right? It's the little mindset shifts that you can make that change everything. And being an empath, being a highly sensitive individual, it is a game changer when you learn to empower yourself, when you're willing to accept how amazing you are.
And the power of thought, the power of the mind is so bizarre. I mean, if you think about it, I was just reading this the other day. It's like, we only use barely 10% of our brain. So what's the other 90% of the
tickety-tock? Tickety-tock.
Yeah. So the other 90% is essentially the subconscious. So if you want to think about it, the ratio is kind of like the conscious mind is the 10% that we're using. It's kind of like the golf ball. The subconscious mind is kind of like a basketball. That's the other 98%. So if you program your subconscious, all of a sudden, you get that superpower. You have this ability to go and see and do and live in the power of burning desire and achievement and creation, as opposed to fear and reaction.
Right. And it's really learning that, when I say tickety-tockety, because that's just my name for it, when you're on these things, right? Like you're programming your subconscious. So I want you to be very careful what you are watching, because there is
consuming.
There is stuff that's out there that they want you to consume that will program you in a way that you may not realize is a deficit for you.
Or even TV or news.
Any of it. Just listen to podcasts. Or
ours. That's the only thing you should ever
Ours is the only thing. We're going to tell you how it is. We're going to tell you straight up. You're fine. You're safe. Maybe get some milk and groceries. Yes, go ahead. Get the toilet paper.
Exactly.
Because if that comforts you for a moment, then fine. But I also want you to go the reality and go, okay, I have that there. I am well aware on a conscious level that I did that because I'm a little freaked out. However, I feel safe and secure now. I'm going to go out inside in nature and I'm going to ground and everything is fine.
Right.
It's being aware of what you're doing, what you're consuming, what you're watching, what you're eating, all of that good stuff.
And aware of how you're programming yourself, because everything that's in your external world, you're soaking up. Your subconscious is soaking it up to be true. Whether or not it is, that's another question. But you're absorbing it, and what you sit and absorb becomes your reality.
100%. And to that, Chris, I will say, so every day for me, it's super imperative to have a walk in the morning and in the evening. Well, forget evenings. This is my first East Coast in 15 years. Y'all, it's freaking dark at 4 o'clock. What is it? It's 3:40. Forget it. We're not getting no afternoon walking.
No.
But
take your flashlight.
No, I can't. Coyotes, but that's another story too. Well, and maybe drones. So no, let's just stay in. Let's just do something in the house. So anywho, every morning I go out and I walk. Now, where I'm at is a place that, this is so cool. I've wanted to live here for 30 some years. might be 40, but I'm not willing to admit that. At least 30 some years. Never saw this on my radar coming. Never saw that I'd be 2 blocks from the beach, that I'd be in this amazing, cute little cottage, that I have a porthole window that I can look at the stars and a drone, and the moon. That when I walk, I am walking past, giving the word homes just doesn't seem well. I mean, these are like mansions among mansions among mansions. And so when you're in this vibration, I learned to play, and I encourage people, play with your guides, play with God, play with the universe, and don't be afraid to be demanding. I'm like, okay, well, this cottage is great. However, sister needs central AC, central heat, and I need some sort of screened-in porch because now I'm programmed for that, right?
And I need that mansion over there.
So, well, no, this is what happened. So every day I started walking, and I went, wow, God, I see what you're doing. And I was like, this is nice, and this is lovely, but I don't need this. I don't need this. Here's what I'm asking for. And I always say, it's this or something better. And so I didn't know if these cottages here could have air conditioning. So you know what God said? Hold my Bible, Jennifer. I was out walking. There was an open house. I went into a cottage. What do you think was there? Air conditioning. So God said, there is. If you want it, it's there for you, right? It's those moments that I want you to get excited about and go, oh my, God was like, hold my Bible. Here you go.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing is you go walking and if you want it, you can have it. Yeah. There is no limitation because you create it.
Yes, we're our own limitations. And I've been in that limited mindset. And I've also been experiencing this incredible expansion and growth mindset. And when you can get there, it's just like you're floating. Yeah. I mean, it is amazing. And that's where I want to guide people to. Just as when I started my original mission was I didn't want anyone else to feel pain or disease that I had to. Now you don't need to live a life that is full of pain or regret or unhappiness. It's not why you're here. You're not here for a 9-to-5 job. You're not. I promise you, you're not.
No.
I promise you. So let us be beacons of light for you.
Bingo. Because it seems you have 2 choices. You can either be the person who's living in the limitation, the scarcity mindset, the limiting belief, or you can be living your own creations, focusing on your own burning desires and they're opposites of each other. And the mind can only hold one thought at a time. So focus on the thought that you want. Right.
And I noticed something. I don't know if you noticed this, Chris. A lot of people don't even realize that they have a mindset of scarcity because of how we've been programmed.
Yeah. For
instance, I choose to shop at the dollar store because they have some really cool pens that I like. I don't go there because I feel that that's all that I can afford. Yeah. I chose during certain times in life to stock up on kitty food. Not because I thought, and then I'm very clear on this, when you like have a freak out moment, before you purchase or do anything, you've got to have the mindset of, I know we're going to be fine. However, I feel better knowing X, Y, and Z. If you buy out of fear, you're buying out of lack.
Right. 100%. And you can't get anything if you're in that mindset.
No, because if you're going out with lack's only coming back to you.
Yeah,
We've got that give and take.
This goes actually, even quantum physics has been talking about this, that everything that's out in existence not only is energy, but based on, bear with me, based on the Copenhagen interpretation that states that all energy is in multiple places at once and only congeals into one creation when another energy works on it. That's literally the law of manifestations, that our thought energy goes to those energy particles that are out there in multiple states of existence, and they come together based on our thought, and then we attract it as we come in with that burning desire. So quantum physics has been talking about this for years.
Right. And Abram would say that's being in the vortex.
Yeah.
When you are in that flow and you are in that vortex, like that, it doesn't matter if you're asking for $1 with a decimal 00 or $1 million. There is no gravity. There is no weight to it. It's just energy.
There is no size. It doesn't matter.
You've been programmed to believe that it's harder to manifest $1 million or $1 billion versus $1. And the truth is that's not true.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's all based on the energy because, think of the size of the universe. The universe, multiverse, is so large that there is no concept of scale or space or time. These are all man-made.
It's limitless.
Creations, because all what we do is we perceive, for example, like time. Like we see time as a certain, things are passing based on the sun. But that's just the way we perceive things because we live here. A little fishbowl.
Right. I mean, those were I stopped wearing a watch years ago because time means nothing.
Yeah.
You're not guaranteed any of it, right? And that's not to say I don't like a nice watch because I do, but I don't wear them because it doesn't resonate with me as an energetic being.
Mm-hmm.
I also know that for me, seeing a sunset every day is so imperative for my mental state. A sunrise isn't a necessity when I'm on the West Coast. But when I'm on the East Coast, that sunrise is so important.
Yeah.
The sunset isn't because it's 3:48 and it's setting.
It's already setting and you're just looking at land. You're like, oh, big deal. Because it's the sun over the water.
Right. And things like that are important. Like I literally did 21 states in 6 months about a year and a half ago, unplanned, not a necessity, universe driven. And going through it, I remember you want to talk about, I didn't have pleasant words and I was crying and I was like, this is bullshit, right? Like I just wanted to get from A to B. Like, why Texas? Why? Right? Like, why?
Well, you'd be saying that for a while in Texas.
Oh, so much in Texas. But what I learned afterwards was that if I hadn't have gone through all those states and I didn't see what I saw, I wouldn't have been secure in knowing what I knew versus what the world was telling me. I also wouldn't have been able to help guide my clients who were looking for places to move and I'd be like, oh, that's a hard no. Yeah. Based on what I was experiencing energetically, what I was seeing as I was going through places. So sometimes you may be going through something 9 times out of 10 is because your story is going to help someone else along the line later down. You don't know in that moment, but generally that is why something is happening. And the more that you fight it, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
The more you lean into it, then you're like, all right, the universe is like, oh, you want to flow with us? Okay, we'll flow. Let's flow with her. Let's throw her 7-Eleven. Let's give the girl a Dunkin' Donut. She's been on the road 20 hours. Give her a Dunkin' Donuts. You know?
Well, I mean, what you were just pointing out to was kind of made me suddenly remember that everybody affects everybody else, not only energetically but also realistically. Even if everybody is just merely a part of somebody else's reality and is an illusion for that person's lesson, the point is that you affect somebody else. And so that everything that you do, it's like the butterfly effect. Everything that you do to somebody else in some way, shape, or form, even just the way you look at them, you don't have to speak at them. Maybe you just walk by them on the street. Mm-hmm. Is going to affect them microscopically to the smallest degree. So maybe, for example, you just give that person like a small smile. Gee, that person happens to feel just a little bit better.
Right.
And maybe they smile at somebody else, and that other person smiles at somebody else, and so on and so on and so on. The butterfly principle, all of a sudden, if we did that, everybody'd be doing that in the world. We'd have a bunch of, people smiling. What a shock.
Wouldn't that be amazing? That's like living down south in certain places. Everybody smiles and everybody's happy. Everybody's nice.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. It's really like creating the world that you want. What are you putting out in the world? You are the ripple effect to everything and everyone around you. And everyone that crosses your path has a message for you if you are open to it. You've got to. I can't tell you how many times I have been driving cross country at the end of my whip, and all of a sudden I'm going into a place, to get a drink or pee or whatever, and someone touches my shoulder or just makes me cry or just looks at me. I think of this one man, and I see like my grandfather's eyes, or it's my grandmother, and they just say like nothing to you, and you're like, oh, it's just what I needed to hear in this moment in time. Like, you can't tell me anybody listening has not had that moment.
Yeah. Totally.
We need to be open to more of those now, because especially right now, period, because the veil is so thin. And as we're going into 2025, I mean, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, and it's a true story. This is not an easy year that we're going into. And it has nothing to do with the drones, by the way. Like, it's a challenging year. It's a challenging year astrology wise. It is a challenging year energetically. And, you can play and lean in and go with the flow, or, you can rough it out and hike without shoes. You choose. But I say get on our happy boat with our unicorns and lean into it and see what magic can happen.
And see what river you wind up going down.
Right? You don't know. Hang on to the end of a drone and see where it drops you. Who knows? It could be in an amethyst canyon for all you know, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it drops you in an emerald and you start taking all these emeralds. You're like, oh, this is pretty good.
This is pretty cool, right? Honestly, I mean, there's wild adventures to be had, and it's about time that everybody steps up to their adventure.
100%. Well, Jenna, I know we could be talking about this all day, and I wish we could. I mean, this can be going on for decades, and this is so awesome. I wish we could keep it going, and I'm sure we will at some point. But with the last few minutes that we have, do you have any kind of what one thing do you think you would tell a listener today that you think might be able to help them? If you had to pick one thing,
I would say it is very important to be aware that you are exactly where you're meant to be in this moment in time, and you are safe.
That's great. That really helps. I think I'll write that down.
Mm-hmm. It's important to know. It's the truth. If you were supposed to be somewhere else, you'd be somewhere else. The universe would let you know.
You would be.
You are exactly where you're meant to be, and you are safe. Yeah.
So, and that's one of the things, like, I'll take sayings like that and I'll put them around my house, and every so often I'll kind of look at them like, oh yeah, and it kind of reminds you, because we always forget because we're carried away, or just, to your point, we're not paying attention. Mm-hmm. And so we forget what we once knew. Right. We totally forget, or we just get caught up in the 3D world. Yeah. Because we are human beings experiencing this earth school, and so that does happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but equally, but recognize when that happens, and then get back to the essence of your soul. Recognize that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings having a spiritual experience. Yes, yes, yes. So much yes. Totally. Wonderful. Well, Jenna, thank you so much. Where can people get in contact with you? How do they reach you? All that good stuff. The best place to find me is over on my website at jenniferpilates.com. I am happy to continue a conversation. Everything is there, from my readings to my mentorship to my wellness studio on demand, to my podcast. And I would love to connect with you. And your secret brownie recipe. And my secret brownie recipe. I left that in a secret chest in Boulder. Great. Wonderful. All that will be in the show notes. So, Jenna, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much, Chris. This has been a blast. I appreciate your time. 110%. Thank you so much, Jenna. And thank you, everybody who's been listening today. I hope you had a wonderful time absorbing all this information that went from Timbuktu to drones everywhere. But this has been a lot of fun. And if you need more information, all of this is definitely in the show notes. Please take a look at that. And by all means, if you liked what you were hearing, give us a thumbs up, rate and subscribe. And that way you'll be hearing all the different episodes that come down the pipe every Wednesday. So with that, I'm signing off. This is Chris sending you love and light. And until next time, have a good one. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Spirits Beside Us. Make sure you head over to the show notes for all the links and information on this week's episode. You can check it out at spiritsbesideus.com. If you love this episode as much as I did, head over to rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're looking for a community of spiritual seekers like yourself, make sure you join my Facebook page, Spirits Beside Us Podcast on Facebook. This is Chris signing off, sending you love and light. I can't wait to connect with you again on Wednesday.